Welcome to another edition of Positive Vibes, making positivity and gratitude louder in the podcast world. Just a second.
Hello.
Good morning and welcome to another edition of Positive Vibes, making positivity and gratitude louder in a podcast world. And this morning I have as a guest, my guest is Noelle Cepeda, who I met on one of in the comments on one of Gary Vee's posts on Instagram, and I just mentioned that I was looking for a guest for my radio show here, and Noelle answered the call. And good morning, Noelle.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am doing phenomenal, and it's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Yeah, just to get right to it, I was looking on your Instagram and Facebook uh, profile, bio, whatever, and come to find out, you seem pretty amazing, or you do seem amazing. Uh, Aspiring filmmaker, model, writer, fighter, Brazilian Jiu Jitsu blue belt, hiking, and you live in Albuquerque.
Yes.
Yes, and yeah, that's quite a repertoire.
Yeah, it's kind of like a melting pot of different artistic outlets for everything, like mentally, spiritually, emotionally, physically. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely. Um, and I guess the first, I'm sorry, you were saying the melting pot. Are you talking about Albuquerque?
No, I meant just like when it comes to all of my hobbies, like they're
Oh,
all
okay,
just
okay.
coming together from different arenas of life, I guess.
Yeah, just like a wide array of different stuff.
Yes, exactly.
Right on, right on. Yeah, I feel like that sometimes like I guess, it's like sometimes it feels like we have too much going on.
Yeah.
All these different areas of life and everything. Um, and so I guess I'll just start out. What types of films have you made and would you like to
So, I've actually been doing the film program here in New Mexico, and I don't know if you know this, but New Mexico is becoming the second most popular state to film movies. Like people are calling New Mexico Tamalewood now, because that's what we're known for is like our New Mexican foods and green chilies and stuff. So that's actually becoming popular. Is people are nicknaming it Tamalewood, and Netflix moved here. They're putting $1 billion with a B, like Mr. White in Breaking Bad would say, into the Netflix productions here in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And I've always been interested in film. I've always been a filmmaker. I would write movies as a kid, and I would shoot them on my little iPhone at the time. It was like the first iPhone that was ever out, and as soon as I saw, because I grew up with like chalkboards still, but then I would say when I was around like 10 or 11, that's when technology really started to advance, and that's when we got iPhones. And when I discovered the art of series of photos or videos, I just became obsessed. And I've always written stories, so it was almost like I would write the stories and I would find a way to visually tell them, and I would bring the neighborhoods together and we would create movies, and they were mostly comedies and horror because that's mostly what I liked. I did a short film recently and it was a horror. I've only been writing horror recently. I don't know if it's because I'm getting inspiration from a pandemic or what, but I've
make?
mostly been doing horrors. I really like horror, but I think I want to try to explore how to how to fit in like other genres that normally don't go together, just to try to create a niche for myself in the industry.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. And okay, and then the next Another question about that. If you made any shorts yet, like short, so like the horror films, like what are you so far like how what have you done? Have you done like
Right.
just
So
like shorter films or like full length?
So I haven't done any full length films yet. I've been involved in full length films in other areas,
Yeah.
but like my own personal projects, I've only done one short film and it was really to just push myself because like you said earlier, um, it's about like just getting started and getting out of that headspace of, well, everything I write is dumb and, just the criticism and the ego, just taking it out of yourself and just really just sitting down and filling the pages with the story and just letting it come out onto paper. So first I'll write the story and it's kind of funny because normally it unravels in my head from the end to the beginning. So I'll start writing a screenplay backwards most of the time
Yeah.
and then I'll have a full screenplay. And one short film is probably only going to be like, depending on how long it is, like no more than like, I'd say like 7 pages. So I'm writing one right now because I had a project for school where I had to write a screenplay because we were going to try to, for our midterm and our final, we're going to shoot 2 short films. But I was a little bit frustrated because we were only allowed to write about being outside, which was completely fine. But then I wrote this entire script, and I really loved it a lot. And I actually just, I finished the storyboard, I finished the shot list, I found a lead actress, I found a UPM. So I'm actually after this podcast today, I'm supposed to go over and start talking pre-production, finding locations, all this other stuff. And it's just crazy because it's like 2 months ago, this movie's just playing in my head. And now I actually have an opportunity to put it out into the world. And I'm excited. I'm excited because I'm still only like my second semester into school and I'm already learning so much and just I'm excited to see the process of it. It's kind of like what Gary Vee says. If you don't love the process of it because the process is pretty not pretty um then if you don't like the process of it then there's no point in doing it. You know what I mean? And I feel like that's why I choose all of these things that are very well, one, all of the things that I love, I'm surrounded by men all the time, because only like 3% of women are in filmmaking and jujitsu and all that stuff. Um, so yeah, I feel like everything that I love, like filmmaking and jujitsu, it just takes a certain mindset of not having an ego and just doing it and not worrying about if you're good or bad, because regardless of you thinking you're good or bad, like I thought I was bad because I only trained with men and none of my stuff ever worked. And then the first competition I get an equal match with a female competitor, and I did a collar tie drag, which is basically where you take your hand and you put it behind their neck, or a snap down, I meant, sorry. And you snap them down. Of course, it never worked at my gym. Like I would do that and they would just be like, but when I did it in the competition, she went rolling and I was like, what do I do now? Like, it's just a perspective thing, like you might not be flourishing in this environment, but it's also like a cohesive, something that you have to remember is not only are you getting better, but everybody that's in the gym is getting better too. And it's the same with the industry. Not only are you getting better at like filmmaking and learning the process of everything and the industry and how they work, but you're all collectively growing, getting better, and like trying to make it. And so I feel like because all of them require that, it's implementing such a discipline in me, and I really, really appreciate it a lot.
Right. Yeah, it's like Gary, what Gary Vee says, fall in love with the process. It's like, it's gonna take a while. It may take quite a while. Who
Yeah.
knows? But you might as well fall in love with the process because it's like if you don't, you're just gonna hate it. And it's who knows how long this process is gonna be for whatever it is.
Yeah, and there's been so many times where I write a story and I'm like, man, I've been writing this for 3 hours and this isn't it. Like, I don't know, and then I'll go to jujitsu and it's like these different outlets, like these different arts that I pursue open up my mind. And it's like, I'll do jujitsu and I'll let myself roll and I'll get into the flow state. And I'm like, after the gym, I'm like, okay, now I'm in a good headspace. I got this idea and that idea. Now I'm going to go home and write. It's like, if I get blocked in one area, I try to go to another one. Like when I feel like when I feel like I'm not determined to train or anything, I'm like, okay, I'm going to start screenplay writing. I'm going to do a photo shoot. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Because another reason why I want to do this is because I want to create things that outlive me in a way that's going to leave a positive mark, because that's what we need right now in this world. We need light because there's so much darkness. But the thing that I want people to remember and I want to visually display in my films is that there's always hope, and hope always wins, and light always wins, and like nothing that's going to get you down, it's going to keep you down forever. Like you're always going to be able to get back up, you're always going to keep going, and it's only going to make you stronger. And jiu-jitsu is so symbolic for life for me, because I've been in so many situations where I was afraid for my life because I could not defend myself. I wasn't strong enough, I wasn't skilled enough, I wasn't able to do it. And that's a huge reason why I started joining jujitsu in the first place, was I was tired of people telling me no. And I was like, I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to go for it, because it's like you said, if you don't get started, it's never going to happen. In the moment, it doesn't feel like you're doing anything. I didn't expect to ever get a blue belt ever, because I wasn't good. I didn't come from a martial arts background. I played soccer for like 12 years. So it was completely out of my comfort zone. And I just felt I want to grow and I want to live a life that is unlike what I've been living. And I feel like to do that, I need to do things that I've never done. And I might not be good, but it was also like, I just have such an amazing community of people to keep me going and to ask me like why I'm not there, or if I'm coming to this competition, like it's just nice to feel like you have people that actually genuinely realize you're there and acknowledge your value and what you bring to the table. And like, if it wasn't for the people that were at my gym and them pushing me all the time, because I was the only woman at the gym for like a year and a half, and that was not easy for me, because I would get panic attacks just going into the mall, just having so many people around me. So it made me better as a person too. It was like, I don't have as much anxiety anymore. And I really don't know if I would have been able to pursue my passion for film if it wasn't for jujitsu, because it it makes you come to a point where you're like, I woke up at 6 a.m. and rolled with a guy that's like 250 pounds, and he was trying to choke me for like 8 minutes. So like, am I really going to be upset about being in traffic or my boss like rolling his eyes at me? No. It's just like, how can you be? You're putting yourself in a terrible position. You're simulating death and murder every day. Like, what else could possibly go in your way that's going to knock you down? And it's hard too when you're going through a really hard time, and then you go to the gym and you get into this situation and you're like, oh my God, I can't breathe, I'm going to get my arm broken, like I don't know what to do. But it's like, you have to really just let your thoughts go, and just a lot of times I like to close my eyes and just let my body go. And it's like, you think that you're in this terrible position, but the way that jujitsu is, everything's connected and there's just chains of submissions everywhere, and when you start seeing them, you can't unsee them. And that's how it allowed me to see other avenues in my life. It really I feel like it really launched me as a person into who I was supposed to be, because I was so afraid to be myself after years of just, people knocking me down, that it just reached a point where I couldn't remain tight in a bud anymore just to make people happy. I had to blossom. And if I lost people, then I lost people, and I did. But I needed to do it, and I did it, and I did it for me. And it's been amazing. Like the day that I got my blue belt, there's very low peaks and there's very high mountaintops, and it's very symbolic for life. There's no in between. It's like, I'll either go to the gym and I'll have an amazing time, or I'll go to the gym and I'll be like, man, well, now I know what I'm doing when I get home and what I'm going to drill. And I like to write everything down too. And it's just crazy because it's like, you'll learn a submission, right? And you will be like just going through the motions, learning it, and you won't use it for like a year. And then out of nowhere, you get an opportunity and you're like, oh my God. And it just clicks and your body just does it because it's like you put in the work, you put in the time, you put in the training, you put in the mats, and you're teaching yourself how to do it. And your muscles are responding to the same movements over and over again.
Right. I think I'll just, I think I got a minute. And speaking of the Ju Jitsu, how long have you been a
Well, I like to say I came into the world of fighter because when I was about 2 years old, I was already on my deathbed and I had the hardest fight of my life where I had to fight for my life. Basically, what happened was when I was 2 years old, I started to get really sick and my parents didn't know what was going on. Um, and one morning, like they found me and I was in my bed and I was just like pale as snow and my lips were blue and like I was barely breathing. I wasn't responding to anything. I was only 2 years old, you know. They took me to the hospital, they ran their tests and everything. They were like, her temperature's at 107 degrees. Like, she's not gonna make it. She's not gonna live past the night. And so my whole family came together and they were always full of faith and they pretty much were like, we appreciate your scientific input, but we're going to choose to believe that you're wrong. And we're going to choose to believe that she's going to be okay. And it's just insane because like 107 degrees, your brain's getting boiled at that point. And they pretty much said, because my temperature was so high that even if I did survive, it wouldn't matter. Like I would still be a vegetable. I would be like bedridden. I was going to have to lose my fingers and my toes because it was an infection in my blood. It was type A strep. So my organs were trying to protect themselves and I wasn't getting blood flow to my fingers or toes. So they were going to have to cut them off. Like I was in the hospital for a month, you know, and I don't really remember it, but I feel like my body does. You know what I mean? Like the stress and the pain and the overcoming that has been there. So it's like, I feel like that just made me crave it all the time because it was like I overcame death. So what can I possibly not overcome now? Like I'm just bountiful and I'm able to do whatever I put my mind to. And I just felt like that really changed me as a person because I was the only child that survived that whole month. And when the doctor went up to my family, they were just like, I don't know like why none of the tests that we did worked. I got over 37 blood transfusions and none of them did anything. But it's just crazy because it's like it makes you wonder like how does that affect your personality and how does that affect your life and who you are? Like so that's what I like to say is I came into this world a fighter and after the hardest fight of my life I just wanted more and was seeking more and it was like I needed to keep doing that because it made me stronger and it made me realize who I was. And then I have fighting in my blood. My uncle's a world-class boxing coach in Austin. So unfortunately, because he wasn't here, I didn't get like extensive training and like I'm not a professional boxer. But every time he would come over, we would drill and it was like, okay, this feels right for some reason. Like I'm not a fighter. I'm a really, really nice person. And like I was terrified of fighting for the longest time, but it just felt right for me. And then it just was like almost like jujitsu kept calling to me and calling to me. And I was just like, what even is that? Like, why do I keep seeing these like signs about jujitsu and about fighting and about this and that? It was like a part of me already knew that it was bound to happen. It was just bound to be. And I remember when I was 18 years old, I was visiting Texas and my uncle was like, "Hey, like you should come to jujitsu, like you could try it out." So I went to his gym and I tried on the gi and it was a blast. Like I had such a fun time. And then I kind of stopped. And then when I was 19 again, I went back here in Albuquerque, my hometown, and 10th Planet Albuquerque had just opened. So I was one of the first people there. And it was so amazing because it was like I was getting private lessons pretty much from these amazing people, not only as martial artists, but genuine people that are good and like actually care for you. And that was just so different for me. Like I hadn't experienced that. So it really gave me a lot of hope and it made me realize I was born a fighter. I was born to do this. I was built to do this. And like Yeah. Once I started training, it was just like I absolutely fell in love with it because it's so infinite and it's so like you can never, even if you're a black belt, like no black belt is gonna sit here and be like, there's nothing else I can learn because anybody can create their own submission too. If I showed Eddie Bravo a submission and I was like, hey, I found out you could do this, this, and this, and he likes it, he could be like, oh wow, I really like that. Can you break that down for me? That's what the 10th planet system is you're constantly coming up with new ways to reach the same submission. And then you're adding it to the book, you know? And that's something that I really see for myself is being an advocate for women, and I want more women training with me. I mean, I don't have a problem training with men, but it is nice to train with women every now and then. And that's been hard too, is women come, but they don't stay. And so I really want to I want to stay because I want to be there for other women because I didn't have another woman to sit there and be like, look, I know this is crazy. Like, this is hard, but you got this. Look at me. I got this. I got through it. I didn't really have a female figure to look up to, so I just decided that I was going to look up to myself and I was going to be that person for myself and I was going to keep working hard and I was going to keep training until eventually someday maybe I'll be teaching women's classes. Like that's the plan, you know? I want, because it's changed my life so dramatically that I feel like how can I keep this to myself? You know? And it's not going to be the same thing for everybody. Like maybe you do it and it doesn't work out, but also just the freedom of being able to take a walk to the gas station at night and being like, you know what, like if something happens, I can defend myself. And I'm not saying I'm like Bruce Lee or anything like that, but like at least I can walk down the street and be confident, because before I couldn't even leave my house and be confident. I was always looking over my shoulder. I was always worried, and now it's like, give me what you got.
Yeah, it's sort of like bring it. But, but, just out of curiosity, I'm not sure, I don't know, but where on the scale is the blue belt?
All right, so everybody's different. Some I don't know. I don't really call it a dojo, but I call it a gym. So that's what I'm referring to when I say that. But some gyms have like stripes and stuff, which I really genuinely am going to be honest, I have no idea how that works. But at our gym, it's just white. It's white, blue, purple, brown, black. And so it's pretty well known in the jiu-jitsu community that it's the hardest to get. Purple is the hardest one to get because it's like you reach that milestone, you're not a white belt anymore, you don't know nothing anymore. But now you're going up against these purple belts that have been rolling with brown belts and have been rolling longer than you, like maybe even have like 2 4 years on you when it comes to training at that time. So it's like you have to reach that point. And like if you follow any jujitsu meme pages or pages like that, you'll see that there's memes about blue belts always quitting and just never coming back. And it's true. And that's fine. Like I have nothing against that, because some people, they do it and they're like, they get their fix and they're good. But I'm just such an obsessive person when it comes to things like this that I can't just walk away. Like I need it to be perfect.
Yeah, right. And uh, jumping to actually sticking with being a fighter in jujitsu and into jujitsu, um, has has the how I'm trying to read this correctly. Um, I should have written it out. Then I know what I'm going to say. But like, how has the I know you've already touched on it, but how has the discipline of jujitsu rolled into your rolled into the rest of your
Wow, well, that's a great question. In every way, honestly, it put like, I don't know how to explain it. It's just like I love people and I'm a huge people person, but I have social anxiety. So it's really hard for me at the same time. And it's always been like that internal battle of like, oh my God, I just want to have connections. And then being like, oh, but do I have to talk though? Because I really like just like observing. So it's making me put myself out there. It's making me be honest with myself and be real with myself and just be the best person that I can be. And it makes me strong. It makes me mentally prepared. Like I really don't think I would have made it through the things in my life had I not done that, because it's like that was the only thing getting me out of bed for the longest time. So it was like jujitsu saved me, you know, like, and now I feel like I owe it to myself and I owe it to everybody around me to just be the best person that I can, because I'm talented and I'm gifted and I'm good at this. And it's like talent isn't enough though. I have to train all the time. There was a point in my life where right before I got my blue belt, actually, I was in this job and it was really hard for me because there were good benefits and I was taking care of little kids. So I loved it. But the people and the atmosphere was really, really breaking away my, it was just breaking me down every single day in a negative way. It wasn't building me up. And it was like, I was working like 80 hours a week and I would work from like 7 in the morning till 7 at night. And the whole day I'm just thinking about like my jujitsu class. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to go to jujitsu after this. I wonder what we're going to learn, like looking forward to it. And I would I would probably work like 14 to 16 hours because I would be like, I'm only going to go to the one class. I'll only go from like 7 to 8 because I've been up since like 5 or 6 this morning. Like we're good. And then I go and I like, I can't leave. Like I just can't. I want to stay. And so it turned into pretty much a part-time, if not a full-time job, because I was training like 3 to 4 hours a day at one point. I became so obsessed, and it was like, it was almost like because my outside life had become so nerving, I had all these tensions in my body and all this like anger and stuff. And I was able to have this healthy outlet to be able to just disperse all of that and let it all go. And also just get more skills in something, you know? And it's so insane to see like your black belt coach do a submission and you're like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do that. Like, what did you even do? What even happened? And then he's like, okay, let's take it step by step. Let me show you, let me break it down. And you're like, oh, okay, all right. And then you try it. And again, it's like, it really teaches you to conquer your ego. And I feel like once you conquer your ego, you can do so much because your ego is the one that holds you back and convinces you that you're no good. But like, I was super surprised by how much my social media grew after I started training. I really grew a lot during those years. And it was like, I didn't do anything. All I did was post about my life and post about my journey. And I think it's important to document that because I don't know. I feel like there's probably got to be a sense of longing for those days back, because sometimes I wish I was a white belt again, because it's like everything's so new and amazing and you've never seen it before. And it's just like, whoa, you know, it's like being a little kid and seeing a rainbow for the first time. You're just like, wow, that's awesome, you know? And it's just like, how do I see this all the time? I need to do this all the time. And so it was really, for me, it was just like realizing there's so much beauty in pain, honestly. And when I put myself in pain, it's like, well, I put myself through this and I got through this and it was hard and I thought I was going to choke, or maybe I did choke. Maybe I did choke and I almost fell asleep and I had to tap out. But it's like, I'm still here though. I'm still here and I'm still getting better. And it makes me better. Like I remember the first like 4 months, I would get rear naked choked so easily. Like it was bad. Like anybody could choke me. And when I went to Austin not that long ago, like I want to say like last year. Yeah, it's been like a little over a year. My uncle was like, hey, I have this really cool friend. He's a 3rd-degree black belt. Like, just roll with him. And I remember rolling with him, and he was on my back for like 8 minutes. And at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm barely even doing this. I'm barely holding this guy off. You know, but then afterwards, it was the longest 8 minutes of my life. Oh my God. It was like I don't even know how to explain it. It was like a jellyfish was just wrapping itself around me. And I was like, and so when it was finally over, he never got the rear naked choke. And he gave me a really amazing compliment. He basically just said that I have one of the best back defenses that he's ever seen. And to get I don't know, I feel like leaving the state really helped me, because it was like, when, like I said before, when you're in the gym and you're training with people, you're getting better, but they're getting better too. So it almost feels like you're staying stagnant at some points and you're like, I'm not making any progress, right? And that's where I was at. And then I went to Austin, Texas, and because the elevation is so crazy here, like my cardio was amazing. And I walked into 10th Planet Austin. Great people, by the way. Like if you're ever in Austin, definitely train there because they're great. But I went over there and I was gonna train and I thought it was just gonna be like a regular class. And I walk in and they're like, yeah, this is gonna be a competition class. Like, are you sure? And I'd already told them like I'm from 10th Planet Albuquerque and told them my name and like where I train. And they're like, you don't have to train though. Like it's fine. It's a competition class. And I was like, no, I'm training. Like where do I go? And it was intense, but it was like everybody else was like so much more tired than I was because it was like we do that so intensely here. And on top of that, the elevation is just so freaking high. So when I went over there, it was like I had that as an advantage and I did really well. And I was shocked, because you're going up against people and they have no idea what you're good at. Everyone at my gym knows not to let me get them in my guard because I will triangle you. I will armbar you. Like I'm quick at putting it on too. If you don't know my rolling style and you get in my guard, you're gonna get triangle chokes, period. So, you're at the gym and you're like thinking you're not good at triangles because you keep throwing them up and they keep defending them. And so you're like, I'm not good at this. Like I can't get it on a single person. And then you realize it's just, you're getting it better at triangle chokes and they're getting better at defending them. And then when you go to a different gym, they have no idea who you are. They don't know what belt you are because you don't wear the gi. They don't know how good you are. And you roll with them and they're like, okay. And it would be funny because guys would come in and they would like have pride, right? They would come in and they'd be like, yeah, I'm the shit. Like I can do anything. Like I can beat anybody in here. And of course they would always like warm up with me, right? They see me and they're like, ooh, like that'll be a good warm up for me. Like we'll be good. And I've had that happen so many times, but it's awesome though. I love it. It's like, yes, you don't know my rolling style. I'm going to try some submissions on you. And so they'll be like, can you roll? And then we'll roll. And afterwards they're just like, oh my God, you're strong. And it's like, well, yeah, because I put myself through hell every day on purpose. But somehow love it because I'm just crazy like that.
Yeah, it's like I can't relate to the Ju Jitsu and fighting and doing that all the time, training. But I run every day, so it's like
Yeah.
I'd get off work after 7 or 8 hours on my feet there, and I just go run for an hour, run for even a half hour or whatever, even if it's only 10 minutes, run 1 mile, and I just get that endorphin release.
Yeah.
And, it just releases everything from the day. I just leave it out there on the street.
Yeah. And I feel like running and jujitsu can be similar because it's like your mind will always give up before your body does.
Yeah.
And, there's been so many times where I'll get mounted and I'm like, oh, I can't get this guy off me. He's so huge and like he has such an advantage. But then I have to shut that off and I'm like, no, don't think. Just stop thinking because if you overthink, it's like you're not going to do good. And I feel like running is kind of harder in a way because like at least with jujitsu, you're like looking for ways to escape or you're looking for ways to move. You're looking for submissions and stuff. But it's when you're running, it's just like, this is all I can really focus on. And your brain the whole time is like, you could go home, like Netflix is waiting for you. The easy way is always going to be there waiting for you. And it's always going to be in your ear, like, hey, this is really hard. Wouldn't it be nice to just like go home and relax? And there's been so many times where I'm like, I don't want to go to jujitsu. I feel like I'm just going to do terrible because I don't feel like very great today. And then I'll go and I'll have one of the best open mats in my life. It just comes to show that like, it doesn't always matter how you feel in the moment. Just going and just running and just doing, despite what people say and despite what your ego says, is going to make you go further and it's going to propel you into where you see yourself. Because I had the biggest dream of being a blue belt and it was just a dream, and then it was there and it was so amazing. Like I remember that day perfectly. It was February 1st, 2019. And my dad was the one that got me into jiu-jitsu, and we rolled together and trained together, and he was there for me the whole time I was growing in my training career. And then when we got promoted together, wow, it's just such an amazing feeling. It's like, wow, this is actually paying off and this is actually like happening. I'm actually getting better to the point where even my brown belt or black belt instructor is looking and going, you know what? She's getting good. She's showing us that she's persevering. We're going to give her a blue belt. And it's not always just for skill, you know, it's for like just being able to get through it and sustain it, because that's the hardest part, is just staying there even when you don't want to. There were so many times where I would go over right before my first competition, I was getting really, really down on myself because, like I said, I felt like I wasn't good because I would try all these submissions on these guys and they wouldn't work. And I got really discouraged and I sat down on the sidelines and I was like, I don't think I should be doing this. Like, I'm not even good at this. I don't even know if I'm supposed to be a fighter. Like, maybe I should just call it quits, you know? But I couldn't, because my teammates, the look in their eyes of just like, we would be losing you and you make me better and I make you better and you're so good. Like, you're so much better than you think. And one of my teammates told me something that resonated with me and really stuck with me. And he was like, take a look around. He's like, how many women are here? And I look around and I'm like, there's 16 men and then there's me. And so he's like, what does that have to say about you? And what does that say about where you're going and where you're headed? Like, you're doing the right things. And even though it's hard, you just got to keep doing it every day, no matter what. And so that really helped me in real life, because it's like, if this is something that you want to do, like, the film industry is very cutthroat. It's not going to be easy. And I'm not saying that I'm ever going to be like a Quentin Tarantino or anything, as cool as that would be. But like, I'm going to do it regardless, because I feel like if you do it because you love it, then the fame and the success and the money and whatever else that you're looking for, the friendships, the family, the bonds that you create, they're just going to follow you, because it's like, you are exactly where you're supposed to be and you're doing what you need to be and you are being authentic to your own self. So the right people are going to be attracted to you.
Yeah, I totally, I couldn't agree more with what you were just saying about everything being attracted to you, you know, so long as you're on your, you know, following your passion, you know, your purpose, whatever. Um, I started following my passion, you know, and wrote my autobiography, and through that I was seeking promotional tips, met Gary Vee, filmed it in New York, blew me up on one of his Daily V episodes, and you know, now I have my, yeah, I started a podcast on my phone, and here I'm sitting at the radio station with my podcast on the radio, you know, just making content for my social media and for this radio station. You know, it's just like, you know, and I'm hoping, you know, I'm helping you. I put you on my radio show
Yeah,
here,
I know.
and it's just like, you know, it's one big circle, and it's just everything comes together in the end. You know?
Yeah, and it's an amazing opportunity to be on this, because like I said, I really want to express how important it is for every woman to at least try it, because it really does help so much with every avenue of your life, to be able to say, like, I can defend myself and I'm tough. Like, I can do this, you know? And I really want more women to train, because I like, we still have women, but a lot of times when I go train, I'm still like the only woman there or the second woman there. So to have more women training would be amazing. And I feel like that's why I really put myself out there when I saw those comments, because I was like, I want to I want to put it out there, like, how amazing it is, because it's just so great that if it helped me this much, it might help somebody else. So like, even if only one person on here was like, wow, that sounds really intriguing what she's saying, I'm gonna go try it out. Even if it's not jujitsu, if it's anything, I feel like it's important to put yourself out there and to do things. And it makes it hard, you know. And I found myself in a really dark place, because when the pandemic happened here, New Mexico was one of the most strict states. You know, Texas, I had family there and they would be like, we're eating out, we're going to the movies still, like, everything's cool. And I've only gone to one movie in a year, and that was when I traveled to compete in Colorado. So not I wasn't able to train that whole time. And it almost felt like a period in my life where it was like I was supposed to be alone for that period of time, to like really dig deep within myself and figure stuff out, because I remember realizing, wow, I have an insanely busy schedule. And it was crazy because I was going from like working 40 hours a week and training to 40 hours a week to absolutely nothing. I lost my job. I couldn't train. I couldn't go anywhere because of the pandemic. So it was like, what do I do? So I had to learn how to live without it. And it almost made me love it even more, because when the gyms finally did open back up at partial capacity and doing certain measures, it was like, wow, like I love this sport, and it just really showed me how much I love it. It's like you don't realize how much you love something until you can't do it anymore. And the whole time I was in the pandemic, that's when I really started to search other avenues in my life, because for at one point jujitsu was everything. And then when I couldn't do it, I was like, I'm going to start writing. And that's when I started writing, and I started researching, and I started teaching myself how to edit videos, and I started looking up film competitions, and I started watching other students' films. And it's just, it's the process of it. And it was there for me, and it was like, it reminded me of being a kid. I felt like a kid again. I was like, I used to do this when I was a kid, and it was so much fun, and I loved it so much. And I grew up, and I just would do a job because it had good benefits and people told me it was good for me. And it always felt like I was trying to force myself into this giant puzzle that just wasn't meant for me. And it really, really changed my perspective. And I was like, I just need to do what I love, and jujitsu is one of them, but I can't do them right now. So I'm going to put myself into film. I'm going to put myself into photography. I'm going to put myself into modeling. And that was hard too. Like I couldn't model. So I was like, I'm going to do a photo shoot in my room. And I would do a photo shoot in my room, and I would get so much feedback. I would get like the most likes on pictures that I took in my room with my own ideas. And it was like almost a documentation of my process of what I like to say. Like I felt like I was the caterpillar in the cocoon turning into a butterfly. I was all alone. I got very, very, very low, but I came out a better person. And like I'm never gonna have to get that low again. And there's some comfort in that.
Right. It sounds like the pandemic was good in that respect.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And going back up to these questions, back up to the modeling. How long have you been a model?
Um, so I I got intrigued by photography at a young age, and I became really close with one of my friends who's still one of the best friends of my life, and she's super artistic and amazing. And she always would just inspire me because I would see her doing it, and I'm like, well, if she could do it, like I could try it and I could do it. And she would always push me. And I probably started when I was like 15 years old. She had this really gorgeous like white dress that was kind of old. It was like from the 50s, and I tried it on, and she was like, let's go take pictures. And it was like a summer day, and we took pictures, and I was like shocked. I was like, is that really me? Like, are these pictures like real? Like, these actually are good. I like these. And photographs are just so amazing because you capture a moment in time that you can never ever get back. And you always have that. And it's like, people are always like, oh my God, you're taking another picture. And it's like, you say that until a picture's all you have to hold on to that moment. A picture's all you have to hold on to that person that's not there anymore. And so it's just a form of expression for me. It's like when I'm in front of the camera, I can just let go and I can show any emotion because the camera is going to capture what it needs to, and the audience is going to see what they want to see. And I've been really trying to be more artistic in that way. And it also, I got bullied a lot growing up, and I got made fun of for how I look and like my body too. So that was another way for me to step out of my comfort zone. Was I didn't like to be in front of the camera. And then I did that one photo shoot, and then I started getting photographers reaching out to me, coming out of the woodworks, like, hey, can we do this? Or I want to do this photo shoot with you. Can we do that? And I was like, okay. And I met this one photographer, and he's a really good friend of mine. And we've been shooting for like 2 years, and he's like, we've just had so much amazing photo shoots together. And I feel like we've both grown and evolved, me as a subject and him as the photographer. And it's just another outlet for me to express myself. And it's another art. Like I'm an artist, and that was just one of the art forms that I fell into. And it was crazy because I really love photography I really love photography, but I also really love film, and they both coincide together, but they're also so very different. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. Um, and uh, sort of two questions here. What types of modeling have you done, and what are your modeling goals?
What was the first question? Sorry.
What types of modeling have you done, and what are your modeling goals?
So I've mostly just done like artistic modeling, where we'll just come up with a concept or we'll come up with a costume or I'll see something and I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Like, I wonder if we could recreate it and do it in a different landscape or a different way. Or sometimes what I'm thinking about doing, and this is a goal that I've actually had, but I don't know when I'm going to be able to pursue it because right now my priorities are jujitsu and film. But I think it would be amazing. I love to write poetry. And a lot of times during the photo shoot, I would get inspiration for poetry or vice versa. Like I would write a poem and then I would get inspiration for a photo shoot to really encapsulate the type of mood and scene that I'm trying to set. And I feel like for my goals, like I just want to keep modeling because it's really fun. And I don't believe the stereotype of like, well, I got told this a lot where it was like, you can't be a woman fighter and a hot woman that like models. Like you can't do both. And it's like, anybody can do anything. Like you're not going to tell me what I can or can't do. So I feel like that was another reason why I wanted to, was because it's just so weird for that to be a thing, I guess. But I would love to write a poetry book and then to just create like photography and photo shoots that match up with the poetry that I write. I think that would be something that I really want to do, is publish a book that has modeling pictures in it, but also has photography in it and has my poetry in it. And that'll be something else that lives longer than I do.
Right on. Yeah, just like that, that flash what Gary Vee says about leaving your legacy.
Right.
Yeah, leave something for the future.
Something that my dad told me that always stuck with me was, you only die after the last person that knows your name and has a memory of you dies, which is reassuring because it's like, wow, I could live forever then. If I really talk to so many people and like they live to be 100 years, I could live longer than just 100 years. And there's just hope in that because everybody wants to feel like they belong and they matter and that they're a part of this crazy thing that we call life and they contribute, and that their existence does change everything. Everybody is so talented and intricate and unique, and society tries to push us to get crammed in a box, and it's like that's what society was trying to do to me. It was like, no, you can't be a fighter and a model, like just pick one and just calm down, like stop trying to take up so much space. And it's like, no, if you don't like the space I'm taking up, then you can leave, but this is what I love to do and this is what I'm going to do.
Right on. Um, I, yeah, I was trying to recall, I don't know, 20 some years ago, I was into writing poetry. And I wrote quite a few pieces. Which I was a whole lot of it. And just so far as your writing, have you had anything published?
I don't have anything published yet, but I'm really excited because I feel like I was blocked. I couldn't write for a long time. And then when the pandemic happened and I was forced to kind of make myself slow down and I wasn't able to work all the time and I wasn't able to train jujitsu all the time, I was like, I felt like there was something deeper. I'm like, why do I have such a strict schedule? And then I was like, oh, it's because of this, this, and this. And then it was like all these emotions and all these thoughts and so much going on, like everything that happened with George Floyd and just the whole world. There was so much going on. Like there's a movie called 2020 on Netflix and it's pretty funny. And it's like a documentary about 2020. And they talk about how it was just like boom, 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 like one world event after another and another and another. And it was like writing was my only safe space because I could just sit down and encapsulate everything that I say. And I'm like, okay. And recently, actually, a new outlet that I've been finding is I've been writing poems and then like I've been finding myself turning those poems into songs. And
Hmm.
like I don't think I'll ever like be like a musician or anything like that, but for me personally, like I feel like all of us were born to make art, and it's just becoming so uncommon for that now, because you can't have an ego to do art, and people like to criticize their own selves and they don't see worth in what they do. But everybody has a different perception and a different perspective. So even if I write something and I'm like, this is terrible, I don't like it, somebody else might. So like just writing every day, like anything else, just doing it every day. And I'm hoping that I'll reach a point where I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. Like, I'm good. And I want to pitch scripts to Netflix. Like that short film that I just wrote. I wrote a short film, a storyboard, um, all that stuff. The short film is going to be the beginning of the movie. And then the end of the short film is going to be where the name of the movie starts, and like the full movie starts. And I'm going to write it all down, but it's the process. It takes time. It's like you're pulling this story out of you, and it's coming at you from different directions, and you get inspiration from different people and different experiences. And it's like, I just want to write something that only I can write, because only I have these experiences, and I have lived the life that I have lived, so only I can spill the words that come from me and only me. And I'm really excited to see where this goes, and hopefully maybe down the line I can visit again in like a year or two, and we can go back and talk about where I was at then versus where I was at now. And you too, I mean, maybe you'll join that new Ju Jitsu gym that was opening up, that was just a random synchronicity. Or maybe you'll do other things, write another book and have more tips for me. Like,
Yeah, that was trippy though, because it's
yeah,
like here I am, showing up to the laundromat, you know, taking my lawn there, and then bam, it's like I noticed right next door is a new jujitsu gym, and here I
yeah,
am talking to you on my show today, and I'm like,
yeah.
whoa, wait a minute here. Yeah, so that was like super trippy.
And I believe in synchronicities, and I feel like there definitely was a higher power that was sending me messages like, keep going, keep going, keep going. Because I remember like I had been asking for a long time, like, should I stay at this job? I was like weighing out the pros and cons. I was like, okay, well, they have these benefits and this and that, but like they don't let me call in sick, and they don't do and they do this and they do that. And like the cons list was like this long, and the pros list was like this long. And I'm just sitting there like, oh man, I don't know what to do. And then when I got my blue belt, I had so many confirmations going up to that, like, you're good. Like, if you feel like this is the end of the road for you here, then keep going. But getting my blue belt really pushed me to do that, because it was like symbolic for, okay, you passed this stage of your life. Like, here's this belt that you got, and you went through so much stuff while you were trying to get this belt in your personal life, and you still showed up and you still put in the time and you still fought and you fought hard, and it's worth it. Like, here, like, you got this. And it's like, wow, this, it was just almost a message from the universe for me that like I was elevating and I was reaching a new stage of life, and it was okay to move on, and it was okay for me to feel like I outgrew that workspace. And that's just really amazing to me, that I'm doing things that I love that have the ability to also speak to me.
Yeah,
If that makes sense.
oh, totally. Yeah. Um, and so I just have a little note written down here. Stuff hiking. I was just wondering if you've been up Sandias Peak.
Oh yeah, it's gorgeous. It's so
Right.
amazing.
Yeah,
That's
because
actually one of the places I went to when I was working in early childhood development, because I was doing summer camp for a while. And we went up to the top, and I remember like feeling so anxious, and then I went up to the top, and it's like, wow, like all of my problems are down there and they're that small, and I'm up here and I'm on top of the world, and like nothing matters, time doesn't matter, like I'm here in this moment and I'm alive, and this view is amazing and beautiful, and I live here. Like, it was just, it's a huge perspective change, and it's symbolic for taking a step outside of yourself and outside of your problems, and looking at it from an outside perspective and realizing they're not that bad, they're not going to overcome you. Like, I'm on this giant mountain.
yeah,
I climbed up here. Like, what? It's just amazing. You have to try it. The tram is so fun too.
yeah,
Like, if you're afraid of heights, it might not be that fun. But we took my uncle up, and he's afraid of heights. He was like holding on to me for dear life the whole time.
yeah. It's like well, like I had sent you a message. I was up there at the top of Sandias Peak, and I rode the tram back in 2017, I was on a road trip and stayed with a Facebook friend in Rio Rancho. And actually, as soon as I got to their house, she's like, "Okay, come on, get ready, let's go."
Yeah.
And it took me up to the top of Sandias Peak and hiked around up there a bit. And I even got a couple pictures of me sitting on the edge, of the mountain there. That was
Yeah.
super cool.
It's amazing, right? It's like, it's incredible. It's breathtaking. It's like no matter how many times I go up there, I'm always taken back by the view, and just we get so consumed in our own lives that we forget that there's so much more, and I feel like that really, what else is going to put it into perspective as much as that?
Yeah,
Going up to the mountains and looking at the city you live in.
yeah, totally. Yeah, I can't say as I've ever, no, I've never been to Albuquerque, but I've been there to Rio Rancho. Um, it's right near there, so whatever.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, yeah, getting about that time to wrap up here. But I just want to thank you so very, very much for being on the Zoom call and coming on my show today, Noelle. And
Thank you so much for inviting me. This is an
yeah,
amazing experience, and I'm so glad that I was able to be a chatterbox for an hour. Pretty much.
yeah, definitely. It was phenomenal, just to get your story, about your filmmaking and your jujitsu and modeling. And, yeah, you're amazing, and just keep at it. Whatever you're doing, keep at it because
Thank you. You're
yeah.
same to you. Same to
Oh,
you.
thank you.
And
Yeah.
I need to look at your autobiography now and find
Okay.
out where to
Okay.
buy
Cool.
it.
I'll get you the link.
Okay.
Um,
Perfect.
but yeah. Um, oh, and before we go, just to let everyone know, in case they want to contact you, what's your contact?
So my name on Instagram is just Noelle Cepeda, which is NoelleCepeda. And that's probably the most active app that I have is Instagram. Facebook is the same thing, same name.
Okay. Right on. Yeah, I'll make sure and tag you in the caption on this video. But, um, yeah, just want to thank you very, very much for coming on the show today and uh, providing myself and all our viewers and listeners with more positive vibes. And
I know, I love that name too. That's so great.
yeah, well, I don't know. I was trying to think of a name, and I'm like, okay, positivity and gratitude and podcast. Wait, positive vibes. Totally
Yeah,
positive vibes. Yeah, I'll
that's
go with
really
that.
good.
But yeah, I just want to thank you and right on. We'll be in contact since we're connected on social media now. So right
Yeah, for sure.
on.
All right, well, until next time.
Yeah, definitely. And you have a phenomenal day. And to all our viewers and listeners, um, stay kind, optimistic, and grateful, and have a phenomenal day and a phenomenal week. And I'll see you next Sunday. Ciao.
Bye.